You're welcome to the Economy and Politics Show. I am Ottoabasi, Abasiekong. This edition will discuss developments around the Nigerian economy as the year 2023 wraps up, taking a private sector perspective. With me today, virtually joining us, is Dr. Muda Yusuf, CEO of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise. It's nice to have you again, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Always a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much, Otto. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Well done, sir. So let's begin with the fact that the economy in 2023 has experienced a lot of challenges. Of course, the World Economic Forum told us that this year we will experience a cost of living crisis. But that of Nigeria, we're experiencing high inflation. We're having the challenge of a point where we now say, are we in stagflation? So that's the major question now. Are we in a stagflation phase, which signifies an era where we have diminishing purchasing power and the cost of food, cost of services, and cost of every other thing is rising? Are we in that phase, Dr. Muda Yusuf?
Well, technically, I think we're in that phase because we are talking about an economy whose growth has decelerated or is underperforming in terms of growth and output, and an economy where we have high inflation, high interest rates, and currency depreciation. So from that point of view, I think we can say that we're in a stagflation phase. Of course, it has been very challenging, both for businesses and for the individual citizens as well, because welfare has been severely impacted. Profitability has also been impacted. Capacity utilization has been impacted. And generally, investors' confidence has also been adversely affected. So it's a very challenging phase. Technically, I agree with you. We're in a stagflation phase.
Wow, stagflation phase. That means a lot has to be done because the year, like I said, has experienced its fair share of challenges. But at this stage, it's more of survival. But we'll come back to that. From a private sector perspective, Dr. Muda Yusuf, and you sit as the CEO of the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, how are businesses navigating this trilemma of the high inflation? Headline inflation is now 27.33%. We still have our interest rates still high, over 17%, and we still have exchange rate fluctuations. I mean, when you look at the margins, it's still, when you look at the parallel markets, it's still around 1,000 plus. I mean, to a dollar, 1,000 naira plus to a dollar. That is something that is a huge concern to the economy. For you and the private sector, how are you coping with this?
Well, it has been a very difficult period for private sector investors. Some of them have actually closed shop because it became increasingly unsustainable for them to continue in business. And from the reports we got, even some of them that are foreign investors had to leave the country. You know, we had the reports of this Sanofi, the pharmaceutical company.
Sanofi plans to end operation in 2024.
Yes, we have also the GSK. And before then, quite a number of investors had left. So for a number of investors, some of them have had to scale down their operations to be able to cope with the challenges. Some of them had to reduce their exposure to foreign exchange, which is perhaps the strongest pain point as far as businesses are concerned. Some of them are reviewing their business model to look at what kind of products they can be producing. Some of them are scaling down in terms of the quality of products so that at least they can keep prices within range. Some of them are doing some, repackaging to make their products more affordable. Having more smaller packages that will be more accessible to the poor. So quite a number of strategies that businesses are trying to cope with. And of course, some of them too are reviewing their energy efficiency options, because the energy cost is also a major factor in all of this. So more efficient energy solutions, less exposure to energy-intensive production processes, and so on and so forth. And for those of them that can pass on the costs to their consumers, they are doing that as much as they can. But for those who cannot pass it on, they either bear the brunt of the higher costs or they pack it up completely. So a number of options, it varies from business to business. It also varies from sector to sector. But the interesting thing is that we have seen some, companies, especially in the fintech area, who are leveraging technology, to become more competitive. And some of them are not doing, they are not doing badly at all. In fact, in the past 1 or 2 years, we have seen a number of fintech companies doing very, very well. In fact, they have recorded some level of impressive growth on the back of their competitiveness, leveraging technology.
Yeah, I mean, what you've said is very true. Technology is going to be a very big player in shifting how businesses operate and, of course, how the economy transits into a more competitive one. But Dr. Muda Yusuf, the Economic Intelligence Unit, in his recent report looking ahead of 2024, said something very, very profound, that the Central Bank of Nigeria lacks that firepower to clear the foreign exchange backlogs. I know that CPPE has written extensively on the foreign exchange market management. What is your assessment so far since this, would you say it's liberalization of the foreign exchange market happened in June till now? We're heading to almost 6 months. And of course, the willing buyer, willing seller approach. Would you say that EIU is right, that the CBN doesn't have that firepower to clear the FX backlogs? And do you think that the approach to FX currently is not sustainable and there's a need for a rethink?
Well, what the Economic Intelligence Unit said is not anything new. And the CBN has not actually denied that. It is clear to all of us that the CBN has been struggling with this backlog. We recorded some significant impact or progress only a few weeks ago when the CBN was able to substantially clear some of the backlog in terms of forex obligations. So I'm not sure the CBN has denied that it has the firepower. The CBN has been, along with the fiscal authorities, have been telling us how they intend to mobilize foreign exchange to be able to clear the backlog. And of course, we have seen some of the efforts at the fiscal level, even at the political level, involving even the president himself, trying to get investors to bring in capital. Yes, he has gone to Saudi Arabia, he has gone to Paris,
Germany.
He has gone to the UN. He's in Germany now, he has gone to India. So all of these things are part of, the strategies that both the CBN and the fiscal authorities are trying to put in place in realization of the fact that they know that they don't have the capacity as it is. So they needed this mobilization to be able to fill these gaps. And we have seen also the options of securitization of dividend from LNG.
Nigerian liquefied natural gas, LNG,
Yes, liquefied natural gas, the securitization of the dividends, and trying to get 1 or 2 banks to make some upfront payments in terms of the dividend. Then also forward sales by NNPC. These are some of the options that the CBN and the fiscal authorities are trying to put together. So they have not denied that. That is the reality. Then as to whether the course of action so far in terms of the policy measures taken so far are on course or are appropriate, I believe they are. But the challenge is that, the situation was already very bad, and when you are in a hole, for you to get out of the hole, come to the surface before you begin to climb up, will take some time. It's not going to be an easy thing. So we have a situation where, the CBN, I'm not sure, has the capacity to intervene in the market, even up to maybe $500 or even $1 billion every month, unlike what we had under the previous dispensation of the Central Bank of Nigeria. So the capacity is not there to intervene. And when you don't have the capacity, it has a way of telling on the market, it affects prices, and it also affects confidence above all, which has further compounded the situation in the forex market. So the CBN is struggling to restore that confidence so that other inflows outside of that of CBN intervention can also begin to come into the economy. I think that is where we are for now.
Now, Doctor, I want to ask you about the monetary policy approach. Is it a concern that the last two meetings, like we also have the beginning, ramping up today, the MPC statement, the last MPC meeting statement for the year, it did not hold. And the last one also, that was when the new CBN governor was appointed, that did not hold. That could be understood. But not having two MPC meetings towards the end of the year, is it going to be a challenge in terms of signaling to the market and investors?
Well, it's not good for signaling, I must admit, because it is very important for the Apex Bank to communicate to the investing public, to communicate to the market. Holding the MPC meeting and coming up with the communique, it's not so much about some of the major changes around MPR or CRR or liquidity ratio. It's also about signaling. It's also about communication, so that there is clarity as to the direction of monetary policy. Right now, what we are seeing are just occasional, speeches or statements by the CBN, either at one forum or at one conference or the other. I think we need that platform which the MPC provides for there to be much more comprehensive communication around the position and the direction of monetary policy. I think that is very important. If you don't do that, that may also be sending a wrong signal to the market and to the investing community. But I must also admit that, well, the CBN governor is new. All the deputy governors are new. Perhaps they're also trying to be sure that they have a very good understanding of what is on the ground, so that they don't go out there and begin to say things that are not in line with the reality that is on the ground. Perhaps we can give them the benefit of doubt around that, but it is important that they communicate. And I imagine that before the end of the year, we should have the MPC meeting.
Speaking about communication and signaling, which is very important, this Friday, the Central Bank Governor, Dr. Yemi Cardoso, will be the expected special guest of honor at the annual Bankers Dinner organized by the Chartered Institute of Bankers Nigeria. It has been a tradition of other CBN governors to attend, so we expect he will attend. What will you expect to hear in terms of signaling that you talked about? We'll be talking about review of the year, and of course, expectation for 2024 in terms of monetary policy direction.
Well, what we expect from him is to give an indication of the direction of monetary policy, at least for next year. This year is practically gone. Direction in terms of interest rates, direction in terms of the foreign exchange policy direction, direction in terms of, development finance, direction in terms of the monetization of fiscal deficit. I'm talking about ways and means. Yeah. Because these are the critical areas, where we normally have issues or concerns as to how the CBN manages the economy or intervenes in the economy. So those critical areas, I think we should expect some clear statements and some good signaling in terms of the direction of monetary policy at that annual dinner of the CIBN, because the CIBN dinner is normally a platform traditionally for the central bank to give an insight into policy direction for the following year. So I expect that to also happen with this annual CIBN dinner.
Very interesting conversation, Dr. Muda Yusuf. As we wrap up now, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Waledun last week, appearing before, of course, the Senate committee, looking at the budget 2024, was very clear that Nigeria is not in a fiscal position to borrow. That's to continue borrowing. And I've had this conversation with you where you've talked about the oil and gas still being a quick win in terms of short-term, addressing issues of the foreign exchange and revenue. And also the conversation now is around the need for financialization of our state assets. You mentioned NNPC, LNNG. So from your outlook, should we expect quick steps, let's say from Q1 2024, around ramping up on oil and gas production and, of course, financialization of our assets, state-owned assets, in a way that we can begin to get revenue and liquidity?
Yes, I expect that, because for me, if the finance minister is saying that we are not in a position to borrow, or we don't want to continue to borrow, so that we are not digging ourselves, more into the hole, then the options open are, leveraging assets to be able to, raise some funds. And I know that Dr. Ayoteriba has been very passionate about this point. He has been a leading advocate of leveraging assets, financialization of assets, and securitization of assets to be able to raise funds, especially foreign exchange liquidity. So I think the finance minister has been speaking along that line, and he has said it severally. But in terms of the concrete steps taken to achieve that, I don't think we have seen much. Secondly, you see, when we are talking about fiscal sustainability, that we don't want to, be going and borrowing and all of that, we should also address the issue of the cost of governance. I've not seen much of that. Because when you are in a financial crisis, you should not be talking only about revenue. Of course, you can drive revenue to the point that even the players in the economy have the capacity to give. Because many businesses are struggling. We should also address the issue of cost. We are not addressing that. It seems to be spending as if we don't have a revenue problem. So I think the Ministry of Finance and the presidency needs to do a lot more in that direction. And it's also good for signaling. We are in a sacrificial mode. Everybody is making sacrifice. We should also see that at the level of governance. But we are not seeing that. So the government also needs to do a lot more in the area of cost of governance, and in the area of signaling, in the area of the symbolism of sacrifice. That is very important. That will help, to be able to carry the citizens along in this whole reform process, because the reform process has also been very painful. It's not easy for the citizens. And all of us have to be on board in terms of this sacrifice that you are talking about.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muda Yusuf, CEO of the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, for a very interesting conversation around the economy. It's very clear. The monetary policy authorities need to give us proper signaling and communication to market and investors. We need to have the clear macroeconomic framework on how we want to go around these reforms. And like you rightly said, cost of governance is something that this administration must look at to show citizens that he understands and is ready to go along with them to see the light, the light at the end of the tunnel. Well, thank you once again, Dr. Muda Yusuf, and we hope to have future conversations on the economy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. To our viewers, if you want to get further insights on the economy, visit the ProShare website displayed on the screen and follow the WebTV social media platforms to engage further on the show. To come your way again, enrich yourself with the knowledge of socioeconomic activities around you, because it is the wise thing to do. I'm Ottoabasi, Abasiekong. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.